Film loves light, so overexposing usually works surprisingly well. What about gloomy days, though, when the light is gone before you know it? Film doesn't like underexposure nearly as much. If you expect the same low light capabilities from film that modern digital cameras have, then you will be disappointed. If you love grain though, then film is just perfect the way it is. And that's why today we'll be shooting Kentmere 400 in low light. There are different ways of handling low light situations on film. One is to use a tripod with long exposures, but then you run into the problem of reciprocity errors. The longer you have to expose it, the less light the film will accept, and then you need to compensate by making the exposure even longer. Some films are better than others with this, and figuring out the right amount of time usually involves maths. Another option is to push the film, which means that you have to increase the development time. In film, it works just like with digital noise. The harder you push, the bigger the grain, and ISO 800 is already quite in your face. Stand development helps because it can reduce the grain somewhat, and it keeps contrast from building up. You can use different developers for this type of development, but my go-to choice for pushing tends to be HC110, because that's my normal developer too, and it produces the lowest amount of grain. If you don't want to push quite so far, then there's only one option, and that's fast lenses. This time I decided to take my Leica with the 35mm f1.2 lens by Voigtlander, and this is a really great lens for night shooting. It's a great all-rounder lens anyway. I usually take this one when I'm traveling because it's so versatile. It looks great during the daytime. You can use it with ISO 100 film. It looks beautiful, and no matter what you throw at it, it's really a very nice lens. It also looks quite modern when it is wide open, so it still has sort of vintage feel, but it's not really so vintage that it's in your face. Like for example, the 50mm f1.1 Voigtlander lens. That one is very vintage looking. It has swirly bokeh, it has a lot of chroma and also glow at night, and yeah, it's not the sharpest wide open either. So it has a lot of problems which make it look very special. If you get the right light and the right situation and the right subject, then it's at a perfect specialty lens. But for night shooting, it tends to be a bit much for me. And I prefer the more low-key of the 1.2, and that's what I choose for low light situations most of the time. For this shoot, I went outside close to sunset because I wanted to take pictures in blue hour and then finish the roll off under the streetlights after it got dark. I can get quite trigger happy while I'm shooting with my Leica because forwarding the film just feels nice. So I decided not to start the roll right away. filmed video until the sun went down with my Canon EOS M, a camera that is really unsuitable for low light because it's by now more than 10 years old. Anything shot with a faster ISO than 400 just looks bad, even shot raw, and I kept it challenging by using a Sigma 24mm f2.8. I had it on a speed booster, so it was really f2, but the light was going fast. Just as I was running out of light, I made it to the spot where I wanted to start shooting film, and the sunset was just beautiful. What I wanted to explore was that fading light as the sky gets darker and darker, that mood of the last light that touches the vegetation, and of course the feeling of walking somewhere without any artificial lighting. It's surprising how fast the light goes when you're used to the city. Street lamps always provide some illumination there. In nature, darkness is so much more intense, and I kept wondering whether I would find my way back once the light was gone entirely. It's probably too dark for this. Once it got too dark to shoot anything except silhouettes against the sky, I walked back towards the motorway because I knew I would find more light there to continue shooting. I looked up, and at first I thought that the sky was full of birds. I watched for a little while until I realized that they were actually bats hunting in the dark. Taking a picture of them wouldn't have made much sense, but I stood there for a minute just watching those bats, and it was mesmerizing. Under street lamps, shooting in low light really is not much of a challenge with a fast lens. I usually just shoot at the flash sync speed or slightly longer with the 35mm lens, with nice results. The light meter can get confused with strong point sources like street lamps, so I only use it as a rough guidance. More light is always better than not enough, but of course you'll run into camera shake eventually. I was done with my role, it was time to come back here and warm up a bit. And for me, the most special part of this shoot weren't the pictures or the outcome. I do like some of the pictures quite a lot, but it was secondary to the moment because I just had so much fun walking around in complete pitch black darkness. Looking up and seeing these bats flying was absolutely special. And in that moment, I was actually quite happy that I didn't have gear that would have captured that situation in any adequate way, because it allowed me to be in the moment. And this might be something that we tend to forget when we are going about our days with a camera, because we're just so focused on taking great pictures that we forget to stay present in the moment. I think over the last few years, I have become very outcome focused with my photography, and I've been frustrated with it at times because of that, because the place doesn't always deliver, and then I get frustrated and I don't really get out of it what I put in. That's really very annoying when this happens, and lately I've been thinking about the solution for this problem, and it's to just go back to where I always was when I started, and this was just taking in the moment and seeing what things look like photographed without caring so much about, taking another great shot. And I'm not even someone who takes bangers for Instagram or something like that. It's still difficult when you have these artistic aspirations and you think about your next show and how a picture will look like on a gallery wall. It's a very different situation when you just go out, take pictures and enjoy the moment instead of focusing on things that you can't really control, namely what's out there in front of your camera. If you are like me and go outside to take pictures instead of crafting your shots in the studio, then you're very dependent on the light and what's in front of your camera and the situation that you have and how far you can travel and all of these things. And in the last few years it was sometimes very difficult to control these factors, and I couldn't travel and all sorts of different things went wrong in that respect. I tried to be in the moment instead of thinking about what I'm gonna do with the picture when it's edited, and that's really secondary, and I think over the years I have forgotten that. And it's good to remind ourselves of that, to be in the moment. So I thought I'd share that thought with you and see what you guys think about it. Do you feel like that too? Do you forget to be in the moment when you're out with your camera? I'm definitely guilty of that. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps out my channel, so I would really appreciate it. You can also support my channel on Ko-fi. There are different membership tier options where you can get early access to my videos or download the music in them. If you enjoy the music, you can also go to my Bandcamp. There's a link in the description. There you can find my latest album, Hypnagogia, or the one before that, Endless Night, and it will be very much like the music that you heard in this video. So if you enjoyed it, then that's a good way of supporting me too. In any case, I hope I see you soon for another video. Bye!